Good evening and welcome to Restoration Talks. Last week we looked at prostate cancer and how it is affecting the men in our community, especially the black men in our community. We encouraged our men, our brothers, our uncles, our dads, our husbands to go and get checked as we realised the statistics show that 1 in 4 black men are diagnosed with prostate cancer. This week we're going to have a look at the effect that it has on the family, and especially the effect that it has on spouses, the wives, the partners that are supporting their men through the process. This week, joining myself and Dr. Amanda, we have my mother, co-pastor Caroline Smith, who supported my dad going through prostate cancer. And it's really good to be able to look at the journey and look at the highs and the lows of a lot of women that are going through this process, trying to support their partners and figuring out what's the best ways to do it and how to do it. So co-pastor is going to share a little bit of her journey with us today, and over to Dr. Amanda.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, co-pastor.
Good evening.
Good evening, Sarah.
Good evening.
I just want to first of all just thank co-pastor for joining us this evening, because we know that it's a very courageous step to have taken, and we were really privileged that you would agree to sit with us tonight, to share what you could, to bear what you can, because we know that this is something that doesn't just affect individuals, but it does affect families. And we know that, for you there is so much, that even just observing that you've had to balance. There is the role as a wife, to your husband. There is the role as the co-pastor to the church. There is the role as the mother to your children. And we know that there has been so many hats that you've had to wear in this time. And you know what? We haven't been able to hear from you as much as we perhaps would like to. And we just want to thank you, first of all, for coming on this evening and for agreeing to do this with us. And, we just want to ask you, first of all, how has this journey been for you? We know it's been a long journey. How has this journey been for you? What was it like, the initial stages, first of all, in finding out what had happened to Pastor Delroy or what he was going through?
Well, I was first at the beginning, kept saying he's in pain, and I said you need to go and get checked, not sure what it was. And I think our first appointment was getting the results. I think when we initially went to the doctors and they sent us some biopsy and things like that, and we were going to the doctor's hospital probably 3-4 times a month. And it was just appointments after appointments after appointments. But when we actually got the diagnosis that he had prostate cancer, we both froze when the doctor gave us the result. We looked at each other, and for a couple of seconds, we just both went numb. That's the only way I could say it. It was just like, oh my God. And we just held hands, and I said, we will get through this together. So the doctor tried to explain everything, and he says, this is the process from now on, and then we took it from there. Yeah, but we've never heard that word in our family. You heard family and friends, who's got cancer, you see it on TV all the time, but when it comes knocking at your door, it's something else. So that was hard to deal with, but we started the journey together and we finished it together. Yeah.
And you said so many things there that we could pick up on, but I'm aware that you said that in that moment you both froze. That you held hands and you said, we will get through this together. Can you tell us a little bit about what that journey together was like for you post receiving that diagnosis?
It wasn't the result we were expecting at all, but we prepared ourselves anyway. So before we even went to the appointment, we prayed together and said, Lord, let it be your will, whatever happens, we know we're not on our own. So I'm just glad that as a wife, I've had to be very sensitive to my husband's needs at that time, because he's got the news, but it affects us as a family. And it's known that he's not on his own. I think that's what's important, because we saw so many people at the hospital who were on their own. And you could tell something happened, because when they came out of the room, there was a lady, I'll never forget it, she came out of the room screaming her head off, and nobody was with her. And I just wanted to go and hug her and say, I don't know what they just told you, but you're not on your own. And just seeing the different people who are on their own, some people may not have anybody at all, but this is something you need family and friends to be there to support you, because emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, it is a hard journey to do it on your own. So yeah.
You said, you know, how important it is to have support on this journey. We know that as the matriarch of the family, you know, you would have had to carry a lot of this. Can you just give us a little bit of an insight into what it was like, perhaps having to talk to your children and all the wider family? How was it for you in having to carry that news?
Well, we waited to have a few more tests and to make sure what they're saying is correct. So we made a decision, I think about 2 weeks afterwards. We spoke to Irene and Charlotte and asked them to come round and said that we need to sit down as a family and we need to make a decision together. So Irene and Charlotte came round and Marika as well. And we sat down and we talked. And for them to ask us any questions, because we didn't want to hide anything from them. They're big kids and they need to know what's going on because this affects them, it's their dad. So I think for me that was important to sit down and let the family know. And Irene and Charlotte being a massive support, you know, going to appointments, helping out with whatever. They've just been there helping me because they know for me I was carrying a lot. And my husband, I have to say, I felt it not without him, because you hear other people, you know, I've got prostate cancer, you hear family and friends, whatever, but when it's you, it's totally different. So emotionally, I saw my husband change because there was a lot of things to process. And the idea for him to go back, have another operation, because he's been through, this is the third major operation he's been through. And I know he didn't want to do it. I personally said I felt he should go for the operation, get it over and done with. He wanted to have the radiotherapy. And I said, but for 6 weeks, every day we have to go for an hour and a half for 6 weeks. It's going to physically drain you as well because of the side effects. So I said, at the end of the day, whatever decision you make, I will support you. But you asked me, and I said, I would prefer you have the operation, get it out of the way and done. And I think Irene and Charlotte said what they felt as well at the time.
Can I ask, what do you think was happening there? In that moment where there was that difference of opinion, can you say what you think was happening for your husband, for you, your children?
I think because we've been on a journey together, and I think 2 major operations he's had, they went wrong, and it's just, I think it's a fear of it. And I think he just mentally could not put himself back through that again. And I totally understand that. So I think for him, it's just emotionally, I don't think he could deal with this went wrong as well. So, yeah.
And for you, obviously, being the wife that has seen your husband go through 2 major operations and now facing a 3rd operation, how did you deal with that?
Wow. I did ask the Lord why. I did question that. And it's like, well, you've got through 2 and you're still here. And I'm like, I'm not ready to be a widow. I had to tell myself, I said, my mum was a widow, my mother-in-law is a widow, I'm too young to be a widow. And I said, if you got through the last 2 operations, you will get through this. And there was a scripture that, there's certain scriptures that the Lord gives you at a time when you're going through challenges, whatever. And for me, one of the scriptures that kept me going was, let's read back, only read one. Hebrews 13:5. God has said, never will I leave you, never will I forsake you. And in the midst of all what's going on, it's my faith that's kept me. And I thank God that I do have a strong faith and I'm a prayer warrior. So praying and interceding for my husband through this difficult time is, I felt for me, I had to dig deep. You know, when you're going through challenges and things like that, sometimes you've got prayers stored up for, it's not for now, but there will come a time in your life, and the Lord, my faith has kept me going and my beliefs, and continue to have that relationship with God, even though I'm questioning God, why my husband? Why does he have to go through this again? So, yeah.
You've said a few times that you had to question God. You know, and we know that there are many people that face different circumstances, same circumstances, that find themselves in a position where they are questioning God as to what is happening and why. Can you tell us, and this might be a difficult one, if you feel you got any answers for that, you know, if there was anything that came from that that maybe could even be a source of encouragement or just something for somebody else as well that might hear?
That's a hard one to answer, but I would say it's, I'm being honest, as a wife, as a pastor, I had to ask God why my husband. 3 times now, Lord, it's like the enemy's trying to wipe out my husband. And, you know, for that slight moment, you do question God and say, Lord, why? And then you say, you know what, pull yourself together, come on. And that's what I had to do. I had to pull myself together. I had to say, Kopi, Caroline, come on, pull yourselves together. Right now, your husband needs you, your family needs you. And that's how, for me, I had to deal with it. It's like putting everything on hold, put it on side, and you know what, just get on with it. Because how I'm feeling right now is not going to help my husband. My husband needs me to be strong for him and for myself and for my family.
So it sounds as though what you're saying is you had questions, you didn't have answers, but you knew that you needed to muster that strength, and that, you know, through God, through your family, you mustered that strength, even though you felt as though you didn't have answers, or the answers that maybe you would have needed at that time.
I felt I did have the answers, but they weren't the answers I was looking for, I would say.
Can
So
you tell us more about those?
It's why, you know, the scripture said the Lord won't give you more than you can bear. And I think the Lord knows that we could bear this, we will get through it. And it's like,
But we shouldn't have to.
we shouldn't, but it's like, it's on my doorstep and I know you will get through it. Because I'm quite resilient, I can handle a lot. But it's like, this one now was a little bit too much. Yeah, and I think the timing of it as well was just, any time is the wrong time. But just going through losing my brother, it was just too much for the family to handle all at the same time. I was not able to share with my brothers and sisters about my husband, because when I look in the family WhatsApp group, they were struggling, and I just could not put any more on them. I've had to miss out on family functions and do's and stuff because I just wasn't in the right frame of mind to be doing that. And for me, my priority was spending time with my husband, and when he had to have the hormone therapy treatment, the side effects, he wants to sleep, he's drowning, so somebody has to be with him. So my priority was my husband, my son, my daughter, and everything else had to come to standstill, just put on hold, because that was my priority. So, yeah.
And I'm really hearing the weight of that, because what I'm also hearing is that not only are you having to keep this from your immediate family who could potentially give you support, but you're also, it sounds as though, dealing with other grief as well yourself. And on top of that, I'm hearing you're saying you've had to just, in a sense, close in to protect yourselves. What about the church? Where was the church? Where was that support, or where did you feel that they came into this?
Well, we sat down and we said we need to tell the church, because we're quite open. We're not going to hide anything, and to let the church know that sickness does come our way as well as pastors and leaders, you know, because some people think that pastors don't bleed. We do bleed as well, we do hurt. And so we said we need to let the church know. We didn't want to hide anything, we needed to be honest, to tell the church. So I think we told the apostolic team first, our leadership team, we told them first. And they were very supportive, very, very supportive. You could tell someone's a bit shocked, but yeah. And then we announced it to the church. So if they don't see me around or see me around, they know what's happening. So yeah, but the church has been, thank God for my church family. We have some beautiful people in RCC, yeah, beautiful people.
And it's great to hear you had that support, but can you also tell me what it was like for you, knowing that you're the pastors of the church, and what it was like having to relinquish that responsibility, having to step back, having to, you know, what did it feel like, knowing that you couldn't, because, you know, it's funny because we always talk about, you know, the pastor can't have a bad day because they need to be on form, they need to be at the front of themselves, they need to preach, How did it feel knowing that actually, at this moment, as a family, we need to, and that was all of you, because we know that Shaw was doing praise and worship, and Ira was leading, and you, so everybody had your designated place. But now you were in a place where actually you all needed that comfort and that support and that time away, and what it was like knowing that all of you needed a bit of time out, not one of you did.
I think it was good because a lot of people offered to step up and take over and do certain things, and that was really good because it forced people to come out of their comfort zone. And you know, when we asked for help, there was a lot of help there, and there was a lot of things. I could work from home anyway because I work for the ministry 2 days a week, so there was things I could do at home, and there's things that I need to do or pastors need to do. So yeah, but it was good to see people stepping up, and they gave us that space to deal with what we're dealing with, and I felt that was really good, really supportive.
I see you two looking at each other. I know it's a hard topic, and we appreciate you being here to share.
It's hard. It has been a hard journey, and seeing my husband go through pain again. I wish I could have taken the pain for him. Because we've been together 33 years, 31 years of marriage coming up. But to see my husband go through pain again, it was like, I wish I had a choice to say, let me take your pain. Because he's gone through it so many times. That's the love I have for my husband.
And I really hear that, and I really believe that. You know? And, you know, I you know, what was it like being by his side, you know, and experiencing what he was going through in his ups and his downs of the sickness?
It's being with him at every appointment. I've got a folder with all these letters in, who's seen, what is not seen, whatever. And I think there's 3 things that stuck out to me. Is when we had to find out if the cancer had spread to his bones and stuff. That one was hard because he had to go in, have to check down. He wasn't allowed to be around kids or anyone for 2 hours because of the things they put in him, whatever. And so that was hard. And then going back to get the results, it's like, thank you, Lord. He's gotten all clear that it hasn't spread. The other one that stuck out for me is when he had the hormone injection, the side effects, he would have hot sweats, you know, like a woman going through menopause. And one night we were in the bedroom, and the 2 of us just fighting for the fan. And I never thought I would see the day where water poured on my husband and I'm hot on the board, and we're both fighting for the fan. Then I had to give him one of my paper fans, and I'm like, oh my God, is this really happening? So it's seeing the side effects and that. And but one of the things I must say, one of the ladies at the hospital, this woman left such an imprint on me that every time we went there and asked for directions, or where to go, whatever, the woman's so nice, polite, courteous. Oh, she's just like, she was such a gem. I had to go out and buy her chocolate in a car just to say thank you. And she was like, what for? I said, because your mannerism, she made you feel warmer, because everybody who walks into the Royal Marsden Hospital, you know what's going on, you don't have to say anything. But we asked her for direction, where's this, where's that? And every single time, we've been going there for over 10 months, and the woman's not up, down, whatever, every time she's saying, and she left such an imprint that she made me feel comfortable, you know, that, and she goes, how's your husband doing? I said, he's getting there. And that was just beautiful to hear. So that you very rarely hear, you know, normally sometimes reception people, they're a little bit off, a bit rude, whatever, but this woman, I had to ask to speak to the manager to say she is in the right place and the right time. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
So kind of coming towards the end of this journey now, when we know Dad's got the all clear. How are you now?
The journey has been, it's been challenging. It has been challenging, but it's good to see that we got through it together. Yeah, getting the all clear, it's really good. And we're going back in about 2 weeks' time to have one more check done.
How about you?
Me, it's like I feel I can lift my head up and breathe again now. That's the way I would look at it, because I've had to put things on hold. I had to step out of ministry for a while and concentrate on my family, my husband, my kids, my home, everything else. So it's like I've come up for air now, and it's like I can see light at the end of the tunnel. That's all just a flicker, but the light's getting brighter now. That's how I see it for me.
And you know, we know you to be quite a strong character, you know, and just listening to what you're saying, how you know, did what you do, and you stepped up, you know, and you were that support for your husband and the support for your family, and you know, how you know, you had to be the support for the church, even though to some extent you gave the church the reins to sort themselves out while you needed that time. You know, I just wonder, because I guess in a sense, I'm looking at my character, and I know within myself, I'm that person that's always very strong and copes, and there's always an expectation that that's what you do. And when that is the expectation of you, when you know that's what you need to do, you just do it. But there are times when you have those moments and you think, if only I didn't have to do, you know, if only I could be one of those people that had the excuse to be weak. You know, but I can't because that's not me, or that's not what's expected of me, or that, you know, how did it feel for you? Because what I'm hearing Shara say is, how are you? And I can hear your response, and it's great to hear your strength. But I guess what we're also saying is, you know, what is it like for you? You know, holding all those roles, wife, mother, you know, the co-pastor of the church, you know, having to hold this from your family, having to have this, to be the strength for your own family, but going through another loss within themselves.
It's been hard, but what I would say is, there was a time I came into church in February, and it was just a hard week, and I just wanted someone to just give me a hug and say, you'll get through it. And it didn't happen. And I just felt, the one time, you know, we always go around and hug each other, kids, whatever, before the lockdown. But this Sunday, I remember, I just like, Lord, how much more? It was a tough week, and I think there was just so much to deal with. But I think for me, I cannot be weak. I just cannot. I know they call me the Iron Lady, whatever. I have to stay strong and be persistent. But that's what's carried me through. Because I feel if I stop, if I crumble, I may drop so far, I don't know if I'm going to get back up. So I have to stay strong. And that's my way of dealing with things, is staying strong and positive.
And I suppose there's a part of me, even in that's hearing, you know, if I fall, who catches me? You know, just like that Sunday you come in and you're thinking, I need today a hug. I don't need to be the co-pastor today who goes and support. I need to be supported today. And perhaps not feeling that was there. And I think this is an important thing as well, that we acknowledge. I know it might be a bit uncomfortable, but I think so often people don't appreciate sometimes. You know, I know I did some research which looked at what leaders go through themselves and what families go through. And I think oftentimes what's forgotten is, you know, the fact that the difficulty is not only have you got all the rest of us have got to deal with, that, you know, where's God, how is this house, but then you've also got the congregation to look after. You know, and what that might feel like for you, especially having that characteristic, having that status as this Iron Lady when you were in your moment of need.
Because I just feel if I dropped at that time or come to a standstill, my husband would going to handle it. And in the position he was in at that time, no, I couldn't. I couldn't allow that to happen. As much as it was uncomfortable and painful for me, I could not let that happen. No, I couldn't. Because he comes first. He comes first. And I had to put my feelings, how I'm feeling, to one side. And I will deal with that now that things were in a better position. But at that time, I had to put how I'm feeling, my emotion, whatever. I had to just back it up.
Ooh, that's a kind of sacrificial love. That's the sacrificial love. Wow.
Could you, for the sake of some women that might be listening, share what some of those feelings that you feel you had to put aside were?
My feelings, how this is affecting me.
Name the feelings. Is it hurt? Was it anger?
I think it's seeing my husband in pain again. I felt that was one of the things was hard. Seeing him in pain again, because this is his third major operation. And when the doctors tell you, prepare yourself, that is hard. Prepare yourself for what? My husband's not going nowhere, you know? And so it's having to deal with that, having to make sure things were in place, just in case. Having to deal with that emotionally was a lot. So, yeah.
What was that like? You know, you said prepare yourself. What went through your mind when you were told to prepare yourself?
My husband's going nowhere. His job is not finished yet. His mission is not finished yet. There's still things he needs to do. He's been saved from he was 7 years old and served the Lord faithfully, even up to now. And I'm like, the Lord has brought you so far. So, no, he ain't going nowhere.
So that sounds like it was more of a confidence in God, and perhaps as well knowing what he had already overcome as well. That you were standing on that confidence in what God had taken you through before, and believing that God would take you through it again. Is that right?
I believe that the Lord was watching over me and keeping me and shielding me as well. And there's always a song or a scripture that's kept me going, that's kept me going through. And even with all what I was going through, I still had my time of daily prayer, devotion. That was hard. I think the hardest journey was seeing him in intensive care. And Aria came down, I was at the hospital, we stayed at the hospital overnight. I have to say they do a brilliant service because he had to be there 7:15 in the morning, so we just stayed up there. We was there from 7:15 in the morning. We left there after 10. After 10.
At night?
At
Wow.
night. So what happened was, Aria said he would come down. He came down about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. So I was on my own. From the time they took him down about 8:30, and I walked with him to theatre. I walked as far as I could go, and we just held hands, we prayed, and I just, covered him because I could see he was anxious. He just wanted to get it over and done with. And I sat in the lobby for about 5 hours on my own, and it was then I texted my family to let them know about Doe.
Wow.
I didn't feel a release because of all what they were going through. I felt I can't put any more on them. They were just going through too much. And I sat there for 5 hours on my own, and I text my brothers and sisters, and I sent a message saying, I apologise for missing your birthday, I apologise for this, whatever. But to let you know, it was only then I felt a release to tell them. And they, I mean, what I have to say, one of my sisters knew, and she didn't say anything to anyone else, but nobody else knew. I just couldn't. So they text me. I said, please don't text me back today because right now I'm emotional wreck. But I felt a release to text them to tell them. And that might not have been the right way, but it wasn't until he was in the surgery that I felt comfortable to tell them. And you know, they would have been there helping me and supporting me, whatever. And so far, you know, they've been really good. It's like, I need to whatever, I just couldn't. Because they were going through so much and I don't think they could have handled one more thing. And that was me trying to respect them, not me as a sister trying to hide something from them.
But that also shows that you were also grieving and going through that and putting your own feelings aside as well.
Again.
But I remember, because Dad had a 7.5 hour operation, and I remember saying, you know, I was coming up after work, and I said, Mum, come, let's go and get some dinner, let's go to a restaurant, whatever. And Mum was saying, no, I'm not leaving. And I'm like, but it's a 7.5 hour operation, like he's not coming out for now. And even then he would have to go into recovery, and Mum was just like, I am not leaving this hospital. And I was like, right, I better just sit down then, innit?
No, because I needed him to know I was there. And I didn't want anything happening to try to call me and I miss a call, whatever. And so I said to him, I'm not leaving. They told me, go home, come back later, whatever. He was down there, nearly 9-10 hours. And that's how all day I spent there. And I'm like, I'm not leaving, because once he knows I'm there, it will help him to settle. But if he knows I want to go home, I said, babes, I'm not going home, I'm staying right here. And that was a comfort to me that, yes, he's in theatre, but he knows I'm here in the building. For me, that was important. I walked with my packed lunch, I had lunch, dinner, breakfast, I walked with everything. So the only time I moved was when I needed to go to the bathroom. But I did, and having that couple of hours for myself, I had to process things. And so when Aria came and he brought in McDonald's for me. But Aria had to leave about 6, and Aria was getting upset that he didn't get to see his dad come all the way down. Spent time with me, but didn't get to see his dad. As Aria left, shower came, and they kept saying, oh, he'll be down soon, he'll be down soon, he'll be down soon. And we just got fed up of hearing that. I just like, I want to see my husband. You told me 7 hours, it's now 9 hours. I'm not leaving to see my husband. And they said, oh, he's going to be on this ward, around the ward, he's not there yet. And okay, give it an hour, give it another hour. And then we couldn't find him, they didn't know which ward he was going to. And I'm like, I started to say, look, I've been here nearly 13.5 hours now. I'm not leaving till I see my husband. Even if I see him 5-10 minutes, I'm not leaving till I see my husband. So okay, so they put us in the staff room or whatever it was, and we sat there, had a hot chocolate, waiting. And okay, yeah, he's on his way up. Half an hour later, still waiting. And so then he was down the far end of the corridor from where we are, and he was all by himself. But even though he was by himself, he had 2 people there looking after him. But seeing him in intensive care, the seeing all the machinery and everything, me and Charlotte looked at each other and it's like, hold it together, don't. And it's like, I want to cry, she would have cried. I think it's seeing all the machinery and everything. But seeing him, it was like, but it was scary. We looked at each other and it was like, you go, I'm going as well, you know, because we both just filled up, because it was emotional just seeing all machinery. Again, for me, this is the 3rd time seeing him in that kind of position. So that was hard. Yeah. But once I saw him, and we spent about 10 minutes, and we came out, and it's about 10-15 minute walk to the train station. Me and Cheryl looked at each other and was like, can't do it. You know, Uber, okay, we find the money somehow. Because we're talking about from Fulham back to Croydon. And I'm like, we find the money somehow. But I just had no energy left. Because I've been there all day. So I was physically, mentally drained. And it's like, we just got a cab, got home, had something to eat, climbed into bed. First thing in the morning, I was back at hospital.
And what I'm also hearing, I mean, I hear you saying you were physically and mentally drained. What I'm hearing is, all that time you were in that hospital, you were like his strength. It was almost like, I almost heard it almost as though you were, as well as God, his life support. You know, that thing of, I refuse to even leave here. He needs to feel me, he needs to know I'm here. And that felt so important for your presence, to be connected with him for you in that moment, which is remarkable. You know, and we know, thank God, he's home, he is well. Can you tell us a little bit about how that has been, to be able to support him from home?
It's been good, because some days for him is good, some days it's not. Because some days when he came out of hospital, he was a bit uncomfortable. There's things they should have put in place and they didn't, so we had to chase up. A nurse should be coming in to see him twice a week. They didn't put that in place, so I had to chase all that up and get that sorted out. Had to be just in his moods and everything. And so him being uncomfortable, but it helped him mentally, being back at home in his own bed, his own environment. I think that helped his recovery as well. So because the week he had the operation, or the day he came out, that's when the COVID started. And so one more day, they would have cancelled his operation.
Wow. So
we have to give God thanks for that, because one day later, it would be put on hold. So, but some days for him is good, some days it isn't, but you as a wife or a partner just have to be there to support them. Because it's difficult, it's a major operation, and hearing the word cancer, it freaks people out. I have never shared this with anyone, that twice I picked up the phone to call the helpline, and I put the phone down. Because I couldn't say the word cancer. I would say the C word, but I couldn't say cancer. It took me ages to say cancer. I couldn't bring myself to say it. I would say the C word. And they have helpline for the partners or whoever who's going through as well. So there is support for me as a wife as well. But I picked up the phone, and it's just like, I couldn't say the word. It took me ages before I could say the word cancer.
Understandable. And so it's hard, and I know there are lots of people that say C word, you know, and there is almost like a fear and almost its power as well in when we use the word. You know, it's one of those things that oftentimes can be quite aggressive, and there's so many uncertainties, and with it spreading and everything else, that oftentimes it's almost like when we give it the word, it's almost like make it more real. You know, so sometimes when we don't use it, it doesn't feel as real. You know, I know we're sort of looking to start winding down, but I'm just sat here, and what I'm really aware of, and forgive me, I know this feels quite unorthodox, but what I'm really aware of is that I'm sat here with mother and daughter, and that it was a journey for the both of you. And I know, Shari, you're usually hosting, but I'm aware that as you're looking at your mum, I just feel you, and I just want to ask, is there something you would like to say to your mum?
I'm sitting there and I'm just thinking about how incredible my mum is. Don't cry. She is just incredible. Just incredible. The level of sacrifice and support she gives, not just to Dad, but to the family, to the church, the behind the scenes things that people don't necessarily know about. And then to know that there are times where she would have wanted support or wanted a hug and doesn't necessarily get that, or gets overlooked because she is the strong one, the Iron Lady, the one that doesn't crumble, the one that gets things done. But I think what I'm reminded about how important it is to ensure that you also reach out to your leaders. How important it is to also let them know that you're thinking about them, that they're on your mind, or even when you're going through a situation like this, or if it's just life in general, to say, you know, Pastor, I'm thinking about you today, or Pastor, I'm praying for you, or Pastor, I know you're going through a difficult time, but we're here to support you, we're lifting you up, and how important those messages are. And just as a church community to reflect on how often do we reach out to those that are in leadership, whether they're going through a hard time or not. How often do we hug them? How often do we let them know that we love them, that we care about them, that we're thinking about them, and that they're on our mind? And as much as we want their support, we want, but how much do we give also? And giving could just be a text to say, Pastor, I hope you're having a good week. So I'm really aware of the sacrifice that it takes to be in this position, and knowing that I know I couldn't do it. And I'll tell you guys that for free, because I just don't have that level of grace. And it takes a special kind of God-crafted woman to be able to handle all that you handle.
I think as well, my marriage vows, when it says in sickness and in health, I tell you, that's all I kept seeing and hearing, in sickness and in health. And I said, whoever wrote that, my God, they knew what they were doing, because it was in sickness and in health, and that's what's carried me through. I think at the beginning, when we told the church, there was a lot of support. When Pastor came out of hospital, there was a lot of support. But sometimes the phone call stopped and I felt I was overlooked and no one asked me how am I. And it's just like, hello, I'm here, you know, and it's like, you're always texting people, checking up on people, whatever, and it's like, who's checking up on me now? You know, the first 2-3 weeks, months, whatever, yeah, and then it's just nothing. So it's like, oh, okay, I just felt that you're always giving, and what about me, you know, and it'd just been nice to, the phone calls didn't stop, or just a text to encourage you or do something. It's like, I felt through all this, it should have been about the two of us, not just my husband, because we're going through together. And it's like, I felt at times, not all the time, but no one remembered me in the midst of all this. And that's why I have to be who I am. That's why I am the way I am. Because I can't let myself down. Other people may let me down, but I cannot let myself down. And that's why I am the way I am. And I think it's important as well, when the last time we were at service was the 1st of March. And from February, the Lord spoke to me and said, before Doa goes into hospital, the church needs to pray over it. And one of the things the Lord showed me was 3 rings around him. And I'm like, okay, don't make sense, whatever. So I looked at what number 3 means, biblically, whatever. And what the Lord showed me was me, Sharon, Aya, Marika, around Doa, their dad. Then it was the apostolic team, and then it was the members of the church. And what it was, a 3 ring represent nothing is going to get through to him who's sitting in the middle. And the biblical meaning is wholeness, completion, and protection. And that's what the 3 rings done. And so, what was really powerful in that as well, that's the last time we were together as a church, was the 1st of March. And Brother Cleveland, who got all clear, and the Lord told me he needs to pray, and Brother Austere, who's been through cancer as well twice. So they led the prayers, and then people who don't normally speak, everybody was taking a mic and speaking. And for me, that stand out is so powerful, because that's what kept me going, because it's seeing the church come together and everybody wanted to say something, and that was their way of showing support. But that Sunday, and we haven't been together since then because of lockdown. So for me, that it sent out a message that it's powerful.
Go on. What message did it send out?
it just really felt like the family is here supporting me, and that's what's kept me going. As you remember, in our last time together in service. So, and just seeing different people who don't normally pray, don't say boo to a goosey church, and can I have the microphone? Can I have the microphone? And everybody who spoke, and because I said I want positive prayer, pray over the anaesthetists, the doctors, the surgeon, you know, everybody who's going to take part in this operation, that he's going to come out, you know, okay, everything is going to be well in Jesus' name. And I felt that Sunday for me was remarkable. I will never forget it because I saw people who don't normally talk took my mind, and the prayers, was awesome. Absolutely awesome.
That's beautiful. What I'm also hearing is that in that moment as well, you weren't alone. And what I'm hearing is you didn't have to carry it all, because I'm also hearing there is so much that you have to carry. And there is so much responsibility and weight that you've had on you. And in that moment and in that service and in that obedience in, you know, what you saw and what took place, is that God was showing you that He was undergirding you and that He was speaking through people and people that wouldn't usually, which also shows that God wanted to reach out and He wanted to provide you all with that comfort and that support, and He would use even those that we didn't expect it to come from, you know, just to let you know you're not in this on your own.
I definitely felt that Sunday. I felt, because even though they were praying for me as well as my husband, but I could hear people praying and saying, you know what, we've got you. You know what, you are not on your own. You know, and if you need anything, let us know, whatever. So,
Kopi, do you know what? This is a start, because you know I know it's taken a lot for you to come forward and to be here with us, and I feel that this is just a start of what you even have to share with us, because you know you are a strong woman. You are someone who we've all observed, who does so much in the background, not often as much in the forefront, but you are a pillar, you know. And the thing with a pillar is often we don't realise the strength of a pillar until a pillar is missing, you know. But the pillar upholds, you know, the pillar carries the weight. And what I really see is that you do a lot of that here. And I think, you know, not only I think is it great for you to have the opportunity to be able to have your voice and to be able to speak about some of what you've had to deal with as a almost a release for yourself. But I feel that there are so many people that are listening, so many wives right now that might be experiencing their husbands, partners going through sickness, going through physical, mental, emotional sickness, maybe experiencing their children going through some sort of attack. You know, and right now I'm not sure what to do and where to go. And what I'm hearing is that there are scriptures. I know you haven't been able to go into them all, but you've mentioned there are scriptures that carried you through. You know, that there are songs that carried you through, you know, and that your family carried you through, you know. And I believe that there is so much more that our audience have to receive from you in how to process even the trials that they may be going through right now.
I would say to any partner's wife, husband, auntie, uncle out there who is going through challenges, major illnesses, be supportive to your partner. Be patient. Be patient. Because you have to understand they've gone through a major operation. Hearing the news you have cancer is scary enough. But having the right partner beside you is so important, because you have to make so much sacrifice, but you've got to be willing to make a sacrifice to support that person. Because that's important. Because while they're going through their stuff, you have to carry them. You know, they may not think you are, but you are carrying them. And, you know, help them by just making sure all the appointment dates is in time. Sometimes my husband didn't even know he had an appointment, and I had to be doing his diary, checking his appointment, making sure that things are done in order. And just sometimes you want to just open your mouth, you want to blow a fuse, and have to just say, count to 10, count to 100, count to 200. Because of what he's going through, sometimes you have to let things go. And when you think this is just a major little thing and you want to kick off about it or say something, I had to just put everything on hold, leave it, let it go. I'd rather have my husband here than worrying about, oh, this ain't done about it or whatever. You know, remember your vows if you are married in sickness and in health.
Yeah.
And it could be the other way around. I know if it was the other way around, my husband, all what I've done for my husband, I know he would do for me without a question, without a doubt. And that's why you have to stay strong in your mind. Be patient. If you're going through challenges, be patient. There's a scripture for any situation you're going through. There is a song. You know, surround yourself with the right people. Because I had to be careful who I surround myself with. Because I didn't want to get, oh, this one, I didn't want to hear all that. I didn't want to hear no negativeness. Because I needed to stay focused. I was on a mission. And I had to stay focused for myself, my husband, my family. And so you have to be careful who you surround yourself with and who you talk to. What is feeding your spirit as well is important. Seriously, it's important.
I think it's so nice to hear from you. Although I hear from you in my life, but from everyone else, they don't get to hear from you too much. So it's nice to let your voice be heard, isn't it?
It was nice to be asked to do this because I did say to my husband when he died in Cleveland, I said, I think we should do one together because it'd be nice to hear from a wife or partner's point of view. And when the Dr. Amanda asked him at the end and he couldn't answer the question, I'm like, interesting. So, yeah, thank you for asking me. And I don't want to be saying much, I'm always in the background, but I felt this is important because even if today I can encourage one person, I've done my job. And I do have a voice.
Yes, I do. Yes, you do. So I speak. Oh, thank you, Dr. Amanda, for joining, and thank you, Mum, for joining with us. Whew, this session was emotional. But you know what, as co-pastor said, we hope that this would have encouraged somebody who may be going through a situation, trying to figure out how they support their partners going through that. And just remember, just be patient, be loving, be kind, be considerate. And sometimes it's going to take some sacrifice. If you do need support, please reach out to us. We'd be happy to pray with you. We'd be happy to talk with you. We know that this is sensitive, so if we can help in any way, please reach out. We'll be willing to do that. Until next time, thank you for joining Restoration Talks. Bye-bye.
God bless. Bye-bye.